wasn't just a sleeper anymore. It was a weapon. In fact, this motor became a legend in tuning circles. Street racers and backyard mechanics loved how easy it was to wake up. You didn't need deep pockets, just know-how and a little attitude. Suddenly, EHs were out dragging cars that cost twice as much and looking entirely ordinary while doing it. But even legends have weaknesses. The drum brakes struggled if you leaned in too hard. The steering felt like it belonged on a boat. In corners, let's just say it preferred straight lines. But that's the point. This was a car that lulled you into underestimating it. You'd laugh at the body, mock the badge, then get smoked at the lights and wonder how it happened. Again, the EH Special 179 wasn't loud. It wasn't cocky, but it had something far more dangerous, real capability hiding behind the ordinary. And just when Aussies were getting used to the idea of a sleeper Holden, Chrysler came along with something bolder, bigger, meaner, a machine with American firepower and just enough Aussie soul to make it dangerous. Stay tuned. Number 6. Chrysler Valiant SV1, 1962 to 1963. This one didn't just whisper sleeper, it spoke it in fluent Detroit drawl. When the Chrysler Valiant SV1 hit Australian roads in 1962, most drivers didn't quite know what to make of it. It had a sharp American face, a weirdly high beltline, and a nose that looked like it belonged in a low-budget sci-fi film. Most thought it was a bit odd, but odd or not, this thing moved. While Holden and Ford were still playing it safe with underpowered sixes, Chrysler dropped something else under the bonnet of the SV1, the 225 cubic inch slant six. Tilted 30 degrees to one side, this inline six looked strange, sounded strange, but made 145 horsepower and 215 pound-feet of torque right out of the box. Let that sink in. 145 horses in a car from 1962. This wasn't just a quick family sedan, this was a bruiser in disguise. That meant the SV1 could run a sub-11 second 0 to 60 miles per hour at stock weight. In an era where most rivals were still crawling to 60 in 14 or 15 seconds, the Valiant was already 2 postcodes ahead. But the power was just one part of the puzzle. What made this car truly dangerous was how normal it looked doing it. The SV1 had no fake vents, no racing stripes, no wheel flares, just steel hubcaps and a, what year is that? Grill. It was the kind of car your grandfather might drive to the hardware store, until he dropped the hammer, and then it was too late. The secret weapon? Torque. That slanted 6 delivered waves of it from idle, making the SV1 feel faster than its numbers even suggested. It didn't need to scream up to redline, it just shoved, confidently, all the way through the revs. And with a rugged 3-speed manual or Chrysler's clever push-button auto, it didn't matter how you launched it, it went. Sure, the SV1 had its quirks. Steering was numb, and the front suspension made it feel like a boat in corners. But sleepers aren't built for corners, they're built for shock. And shock is what you got. This was the first time Aussie drivers really felt American muscle sneak into the family car segment. A car that looked like a librarian and punched like a dock worker. It wouldn't be the last, because just a few years later, Ford rolled out something sleeker, quieter, more sophisticated, and somehow even more brutal. Like stories about forgotten fast cars? Subscribe for more underrated machines that never got the spotlight they deserved. Number 5. Ford Falcon XR 200 Pursuit, 1966 to 1968. At first glance, it was just another XR Falcon, the family sedan Ford built for growing suburbs and Sunday drives. But behind the badge, behind the friendly face and well-mannered panels, lurking underneath was one of the most underappreciated performance sleepers of its time, the XR 200 Pursuit. The year was 1966. Ford had just dropped the XR Falcon, a broader, bolder design meant to steal the family car crown from Holden. But they didn't stop at design. They quietly added a special engine package to the lineup, the 200 cubic inch inline 6, tuned for performance and handed the Pursuit nameplate. That word wasn't just branding, it was a promise. The Pursuit 200 was a cop-spec motor in a civilian body, churning out 121 horsepower and close to 190 pound-feet of torque. That might not sound wild today, but matched with a curb weight of just over 1,200 kilograms, it delivered a 0 to 60 miles per hour sprint in under 11 seconds. Let's be clear, this car had no spoilers, no GT badges, no wide tires. It didn't need them. It just needed a straight stretch of road and someone brave enough to bury the throttle. And that's exactly what people did. In fact, this engine, smooth, flexible, and unshakably torquey, became the go-to choice for those in the know. Young blokes in country towns, mechanics with an eye for sleepers, and yes, even local cops all leaned into the XR200's quiet power. The real kicker? It drove beautifully. Unlike its Chrysler and Holden rivals, the XR handled surprisingly well for a sedan of its size. The front end was responsive, the brakes solid, and the ride smooth, even when you leaned on it hard. You could go fast without feeling reckless. But the beauty of it all? You didn't look fast. That's what made it dangerous. The 200 Pursuit XR looked like something your mate's mom would drive to netball practice. It wasn't supposed to be quick, and yet it was outpacing cars with twice the attitude, twice the noise, and none of the subtlety. The XR 200 Pursuit proved something we hadn't fully realized until then. Sometimes the fastest cars are the ones nobody sees coming. And as the sun set on the 60s, a new generation of Aussie sleepers was already preparing to pounce. Louder, meaner, but still true to the same formula. Blend in, hit hard, disappear. Would you take one of these over a flashy V8, or is subtle speed more your thing? Drop a comment and let me know. What's your kind of sleeper? Number 4. Holden HD X2 179, 1965 to 1966. If you were alive in 1965 and saw a Holden HD cruise by, chances are you didn't look twice. Why would you? The HD was Holden's awkward middle child, taller, boxier, and a little too sensible for the thrill-seeking set. It looked like a car your uncle bought with a government bonus. It came in pastel blues, muted greens, and grays with names like Alaskan White. No menace, no myth, until you spotted the badge. X2. Holden didn't scream it, they didn't market it with fireworks or billboards.